Just get the
Yep.
Putting on.
Okay.
Right. At about 8:05, so I commend the Mayor for dealing so expeditiously with the last meeting, which had the capacity to have overrun into this meeting considerably and didn't. So thank you for that.
Mostly because you talk at great length, David.
Well, sometimes I have a lot to say, I agree.
yes.
Where's my
Anyway.
yellow card? For Councillor Jessup.
To move swiftly on to this agenda before we get completely out of control, with receiving any apologies for absence. Things gone down.
Just David Fuller.
Councillor Fuller, and we've already heard that he's not in county, so presumably we are happy to accept his apologies for this meeting as we just did for the last one.
Yes.
Somewhat inconsistent if we didn't. Representations from interested parties, their interest seems to have waned, they have gone, there are none. Declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest from members and officers under Section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000, Standing Orders 35 and 36. Firstly, any disclosable pecuniary interests?
No, but there are two.
Then we come on to other interests, and yes, I think we're
Right,
about
172306 and 172310.
And the reason for both of those is that unfortunately or fortunately they're both our own applications.
I would have
So
yes,
we'll just
no.
automatically put all of us down as declaring another interest, and we won't comment upon those particular
I've got
applications.
172305, anything to do with the school, because
Ah,
I'm employed by the
yes,
school.
of course. So Councillor Chesser for that one on the basis
But
of
not in any
connections to
kind of
London
way that's
School.
going to affect any planning matter.
What I
I
think
don't think any of us are going to have that, to be honest with you.
is that takes us on to the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 6th of June, which
I'm happy to propose them.
circulated,
I'm happy to propose them.
proposed by Councillor Neville Oakes, seconded by
Could be me, I was
Councillor
here.
Chester. All those in favour? Full house. And sign those. Which takes us swiftly on to the actual applications themselves.
I will try and rattle through this
The
this
first one on our list appears to be the Nene Valley Business Park, a new storage warehouse.
It is. Right, here we go. That's Fairline just off the A605. You can just see the red brick is outlined there. That's the more detailed area, and that's what they're proposing to do. There is a small shed there, you could call it, at the moment, and they're proposing to put this in. So that's the small one at the moment, and they want to do that. And that's all I have to say on that matter. It's on the industrial estate, for goodness sake.
I would assume that we're all in favour of the expansion of businesses on our industrial estate. I can't see any obvious planning reason for saying no, so is it no objection?
I'm happy with that.
No objection. Creed Road,
Okay,
112.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, right, here we go. Sorry, it's been a bit slow. Convert the garage to habitable room. Now, let me just go to the next one. That's the property in question with the red car parked there. And I've shown you where we live, number 45, on the left-hand side, so we're only rather intimately know this particular area. Plenty of properties in this general area have actually converted their garages to livable accommodation. That's it in more detail. You can see basically where the car is heading, the garage that's intended to be converted. I'll come on to the next bit, if this will only go at the speed. Comment from correspondence. Now the interesting thing about that is cream cement board. I've not seen anything like that on the estate, and that seems odd. So, and that's why I've put matching brick in italics. Proposed to fit to Velox windows. Now the other thing I don't have with this application And this is all about the parking area, which basically, it would take 2 cars, there's no question about that, so there's no big deal on the car front. But there are no plans to tell us how this particular individual is going to get into this area. So at the moment, I can only assume they go out the back door of their existing house and then go around the corner and then come into this room, because there are no plans. So it's worthwhile commenting about that, I think. That, you know, if it's going to be, if it's going to be a living area, the lady who lives there,
I know, she's an elderly lady, she's not been there very long, but apparently these plans have been drawn up by a relative.
by relative, yeah.
Just
So these
get
are
a
not
scale
being,
drawing.
these are not being drawn up by, shall we say, a professional. But I mean, I've got no idea what the access will be from the house into the garage.
Well, in
I
my,
can only-
in my experience, they go through the kitchen wall into those areas.
Yeah, they probably will, but
Because
I'm just saying.
where we
Yes.
live,
Well-
virtually every person down the road's done
Yeah,
something.
well, the point is, these days, people don't use the garages to put cars in. There's very few people, for example, down Creed Road, who put their cars in the garage. They use that to store all sorts of stuff, and then their cars go on the drives.
Okay. Well, there's going to have to be a door,
Yeah.
don't we?
But fundamentally, there are precedents for this. On the Creed Road estate, down Walcott Close, and further down the road. So, I mean, it's not an unusual request. This is the last house, incidentally, before the development of 145 at the top of the road.
I mean, I suppose I'd make sort of 2 usual observations, if you like. One, whenever there's a conversion of a garage, we're always anxious to see that there is still adequate car parking space. Councillor Oakes pointed out that even
There
if
is.
this garage is lost, there isn't going to be any exacerbation of parking on the road, which actually in that road would be bad news.
We can see it, but
The secondary point, and I will simply say it because we always do, is that when this estate was developed, we had X number of 2-bed houses, X number of 3-bed houses, etc. The whole estate was developed on that basis to try and maintain a balance, and of course what happens is that you get planning applications coming in to make smaller houses bigger. But whenever we've actually said, well, perhaps it shouldn't happen because you're destroying the balance of the estate, you're reducing the number of smaller and therefore economically, arguably more affordable houses, etc. It's not something that ENC finds commends itself to it in any way. Whether we keep on making the same point in the hope that someday somebody will listen, I leave to others to decide. But on planning grounds, other than that, it's difficult to see a problem with it.
well, the only thing I'm not particularly happy with is the Trane weatherboard.
I think it's aesthetically, it's going to look totally wrong.
I just think that aesthetically is awful.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's a matter of opinion.
It just looked like a 1950s house.
It would just,
Because the houses have got like a triangle over the front
No.
door and it's all white.
most of the other houses that have done this, have done it in brick with windows in.
Exactly. So it's,
It would be possible, wouldn't it, to make an observation in connection with it that the style should be in general conformity with the surrounding properties, and that it would appear that this feature would not be.
Well, I
But
think
it's fairly obvious that they're doing that. It's a cost thing. That's all that is. That's what they're
It's a
doing it
sorry?
for. It's a cost thing. It's a cost thing.
If
Because
it's-
cement board is much cheaper than another garage door or putting up with brick, because it's just a stud and cement board wall that you're putting in there. I mean, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. I think it should be match the surrounding houses,
Yeah.
because else it just.
We could maybe even say, point bluntly, we would prefer brick.
Do we comment on its insulating properties at all? Is it...
Well,
Any
to
less
be honest,
insulating?
I haven't, that there isn't enough information on this application to actually determine what this is going to be used for, and why they're putting VLUX, things in there. I don't get this. I don't think we've got enough information, to be honest.
I think
I'm
it's
wondering if it's an elderly person, whether it's going to be a downstairs bedroom. So there'll probably be a window onto the garden, and then they've just got the VLUX to create light in the actual room.
Could well be, but all I'm saying is I do not have any, proper floor
Well, but
plans.
then we can say lack of information or
information.
something.
What I wouldn't want to do is simply say we don't feel able to comment because of a lack of information. The last time we did something like that, some signs went up at the wharf and we didn't hear the end of it for weeks and months. We'll put in a response, but we may make an observation around the apparent inadequacy of the plans and so on.
Say, in spite of the lack of information, we don't.
We don't accept the points that we referred to.
Absolutely.
Well, we don't know whether there's going to be direct access into it from...
Doesn't matter.
But it's their
No,
problem.
we just don't know.
No, let's,
Yeah, but it's
let's
their
get on
problem.
with it.
Can we just say we don't support this application because we haven't had sufficient information?
But that's
Well, you
David's
say that.
point,
I
is
think
it
the
takes a
trouble
long
is that if
time.
you put that,
Yeah.
too often we've found that ENC has taken a different view, and then
Yeah, absolutely.
points that we might have wanted to make, for example, around the cement boarding and so on, get lost because we haven't put it in because we've said we don't really think we should be commenting on it at this stage.
Can we say that we don't support the application because these points are missing, and then
The problem is
and
we've
we
got
are against
August
the
as well,
application
when there won't be any planning.
until these?
And you
this
can guarantee that it will
information is-
happen anyway, because it's probably one of those drawings within the
Permitted,
development,
development.
where you can do it. You can just do it anyway, regardless.
Yeah,
So there's lots, no, there's lots of
more.
within. It has to be longer than 3 metres. You can, they're not actually extending it. They can do whatever they like.
There are
I
some
think
quite
you'll find.
tricky areas
Yeah,
there.
I agree.
I mean, my guess is there's been a number of observations around the room. There are some concerns, but I'm not sure that those concerns amount to a you should refuse it. But we would like those concerns addressing.
Yeah.
If you're happy, I'll liaise with our clerk at the end about a form of words that we can put together.
I think we should refuse it until we got more information.
Well, that's an alternative view, so perhaps
I
we
just
should
want-
ascertain whether people are in favour of saying no broad objection, but these things need dealing with, or whether we actually say that we want to object. because
We're
of
not
that.
seeing anything I suggest that we feel we've got to turn it down for.
No.
Lack of
We just
access,
would like...
ugly frontage.
Well, they're not going to make a room where there's no
Yeah.
access to it, are they?
It just won't happen. They can do that anyway. The drawing, they don't need to tell us. There's within permitted development.
See, that's the interesting thing is that you see that is actually, the outer door is so fancy. So the entrance, if it was to be, from the other side, is a north-facing one,
Well, that's where the windows are.
which is weird. But I mean,
That's where the garden is.
I don't understand,
That's what I feel it is.
personally, I
It's
don't
all
understand
made
the
to
design, and but I'm not, I'm going to jump up and down about this. It's just,
We've got far more important things.
Yeah,
to
so
do
right,
let's
than
move
that.
forward
Does anybody else feel that we should be actually objecting to it as opposed to making the various comments that we've heard?
not,
We've got one in favour and objection.
not for me.
I'm not sure I picked up any others.
No.
Okay, we won't be objecting, but we will make a string of comments which I'll sit down and draft with you at the end. Right, on to West Street, 2123, replacement
Replacement
of
of
windows.
windows. Right, okay. This is the replacement of windows. I'm now just going through the original application, which was done in December 2016. Now, what we've got is Raphael and Eastern Spices. That is 21 to 23 West Street. The property is shown as a grade 2, but it's probably not grade 2 quality because it looks very different from the houses either side. I'll just show you that. You can see the brickworks are completely different. It looks as though it's been an infill plot at some point, and that's Kiki Sands. And by the way, there's a deliberate mistake on there, but not really deliberate. It's Kiki Sands.
Sam.
It's Sam's,
Sam.
Kiki Sam's.
It is.
Well,
Well, but I couldn't be bothered to change it, frankly.
Doesn't
I'm moving on. Right. Now, in the original application, the existing was a single glazed timber units. The proposed were double glazed UPVC. My observation at the time is that I thought that Lloyd would, throw his toys out the pram over this one, as it's still in the conservation area, although it might not be a proper grade listed building. And then ENC refused planning permission, and the main reason for that was UPVC. Now, this application, this is the change, proposed to replace the existing timbers with white timber, same like double glazed units. So they've gone from UPVC to timber.
Good.
so that's fine.
And then, incidentally, the window design is slightly different, but I don't think that's a material issue. I think this is one really to leave to Lloyd, actually, just to...
Well,
Yeah,
strictly
put it
speaking,
understandable.
it doesn't appear as a listed building consent, as far as I can see.
Well,
Although I remember us having this debate the
Yeah,
last time.
absolutely.
Because I think last time it came through as a listed building, we expressed surprise that it was listed.
Well, that's right. I mean, it was actually Lloyd who didn't think it was a listed building. And I
Could
went
be
up...
listed from the inside, couldn't it? Because
Don't-
those windows are
I'm-
clearly
I'm-
not of
I'm-
the age of the
well,
inside
even-
of the building.
I think that's unlikely, but I mean, but can I just say, it's not, this is not an LBC application. It possibly ought to be, because it's in the conservation area.
I suppose we can make reference to the fact that it is in the conservation area and ask that the
Appropriate
views of
windows.
Lloyd Mills be sought as a result.
I think he'd say yes to this.
But
And that's
Well,
fine.
I think they seem to have met the objection. That's the main
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah. That sounds,
That sounds good.
good to me. Right, okay,
The
next one.
objection subject to.
Okay, marketplace. Very interesting, this. Angle Pharmacy. I think you all know where that is, I assume you do. Floor plans existing, I won't go into a lot of detail on this. Internal detail, you've got a ton of stuff in there as to what they intend to do. Fundamentally, it's going to look like that. What they want to do is to knock out a couple of walls. I'll go back. They want to knock out a couple of walls to make it bigger. I'll just go on a bit because I'll put a note in about this. These are edited extracts from the access statement. Okay, so it's used for an altar, which is good. We're in the conservation area, and it is great too. And we've got this issue, which I put in blue, a prospect of Arundel's post office relocating to the pharmacy. I don't know how far that's being progressed, but that's fairly high on the agenda, I think. And basically, the concern originally was that it was the possibility that there was a fireplace there, and the works that they were proposing to do might have been removed. But it appears that it was removed years ago, probably when Boots went in there. Lloyd thinks that a new application would be likely to be supported. Now, I've got to say that, I mean, he's going to have to make a decision about that, but we've had just an informal conversation about this, so how are we doing?
So no objection, subject to the views of the conservation
Right.
officer.
I'd say so. Yeah, next. Okay, right. Very easy, this one. Internal alterations. I've only got the one slide. On the left, you've got the existing layout. There are no changes to the first floor. What they want to do is rearrange that area which you see in orange. They want to knock a wall down. They want to just rejig it, really. I think this is another one maybe for the conservation officer as well, because it is obviously a grade listed building. Grade Wall's grade 2. So that, I mean, it's difficult to really argue with it, to be honest. I don't think we're in a position to make much of it.
I think you'll find all those walls that you've highlighted as stud walls anyway that have been put in recently.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think it makes any difference to the structure of the building.
No, but it certainly doesn't make any difference to the structure, there's no question about that. Because they're not putting any supports in or anything like that. It's probably just stonework.
Yeah.
It's basically just a revamp. It's just to try and make it look a little bit more, customer friendly for visiting parents and indeed their offspring.
So are we about to say the usual, no objection, subject to the views of the conservation
Yep.
officer?
Right.
The next one, I suppose we should not make any comment on since it's our own
I put UTC up there.
Just going to show you a picture.
Can I just say, it would be quite nice just to go through this, just so you can see what's
Yeah,
proposed.
this isn't for the planning purposes, this is just to inform you as
This is-
councillors of what we're proposing to do.
Absolutely. Okay, well look, we're fairly all pretty familiar with Fletton, so I won't spend too much time on that. It's not grade listed. I thought that was quite surprising when I found that out, but it isn't. Existing elevations and floor plans, well, we're quite familiar with, I think, and the idea is that we will do this. We'll stick in a flat-roofed extension, and it will provide for a changing room and an extension to the kitchen on the ground floor. That's it. There we go.
Who's got a Porsche? Who's got a Porsche around here? Who wants a
The architect.
It's the architect.
I forgot.
Next.
Next.
No, I mean, ready, okay, but at least you can see what's being
Yeah.
proposed. Alright. Lavatory and shipping, I've revisited this about 5
I don't know
times.
how many applications have there now been on this
Ever so
site.
many.
It's unbelievable.
We're up
Just
to,
say,
we're up,
let them just do it.
can I just say,
But they won't have a car
can I
park
just
if
say,
they carry
Chair,
on at
that I
this rate.
think the answer's 5. I've been round the block with this so many times I can't believe. So, what I'm going to do is say next. Because basically, they're not really doing much different from what they did before. And the only thing it's done is it's gone from two buildings, if you recall, in the first one of the applications was when we went with 3 first, didn't we? There were 3, and then we went down to 2,
No, it's
and now we're down to 1. No big issue as far as I can see.
Mr. and Mrs.
Straightforward.
Richardson, Mr. and Mrs. Richardson.
Yeah, I
No idea.
I actually don't know Mr. and Mrs. Richardson are actually, but I assume they've got something to do with the pub.
Fish and chip shop. It's Willie and they run the fish and chip shop.
Oh, right.
But they live
Marlin?
Yeah, but they
The
live
Blue
abroad.
Marlin,
Yeah,
the Blue Marlin,
they
did
live
they?
abroad quite a lot.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
right then.
I don't know whether they bought the site from
The ship, they
the
have,
ship.
yeah.
They probably have, they probably bought the site.
What I don't understand about this is it's already built.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's
It's already
that's
built.
To be honest,
amazing.
to be honest,
I walked down there the
Yeah.
other day and it's there.
It's a-
Yeah,
There's no point in discussing it. We didn't
No.
object to the first one.
I keep thinking.
So, no, keep going. Right,
So no objection to that.
no, there we go. And that's all we're going to get on that one, which is good news. All I want to do is just extend the amount of time that the temporary classrooms are going to be up there. I can't see how the both we can object to that.
Yes, possibly wearing a planning hat, the answer is probably not. As a town council, about the idea that pupils have got to sit in temporary classrooms for longer, maybe we should have a view, but I suspect that ought to be expressed in a different venue.
Well, that's all I've got for you on that one. There's very little actually on the site to tell you about that anyway. Okay, 58 Bennyfield Road. 58 Bennyfield Road is there. So you're coming out of Anglor from right to left. It's on the left-hand side. And if you look, it's got a very interesting shaped garden. But it's basically a cottage. What you see, left you've got the front, then you've got the rear, then you've got the way through, and there's a flying freehold, which is rather interesting. And if you look now at the right-hand side, you see an extremely ugly extension to number 54, which is next door. And by the way, they're numbered interestingly here, because they go 54, 58, 62. So goodness knows what is in the middle in the old days. Right, okay, that's the rear garden, and you can see that bit that curves in and comes round. And I'll just put up here just the information about flying freeholds. We used to do a lot with those when I worked for the Building Society, and I'm sure Councillor Chapman will be able to give us a chapter and verse on it. But basically, I mean, it means that the house is freehold, but it's hanging over somebody else's, more or less. Okay, right, plans and foundations. Basically what you've got is that. So, that's what they're adding to there. And that's why I said to you, a very strange numbering, like 54, 58, 62. It confused me endlessly when I first started looking at this. But that's what they want to do. And I don't know what to say about it any more than those. I would have no objection.
Presumably nothing posted on the site about any local objections
No.
that we're aware of.
No, not. I checked this afternoon.
And in terms of sort of overlooking issues or anything similar? Do you see any?
Not really. I mean, the extension to number 54 is an extremely ugly piece of thinking, and they intend to actually make this, into do a proper job on this one. That's that from materials and stuff that they mentioned in the application. So,
does anybody have any problems with this?
to be honest,
no objection.
if we have no objection, I mean, if people on either side do decide to object, that's up to them, isn't it?
Okay.
Next. Sorry.
Well, A, it's trees, B, it's our tree, so...
there we go. But at least you might want to know where it is. Okay, it's our tree. There it is. It's on the junction of St Christopher's Drive and Sutton Road. The lads mowed this. There's the tree. Same looking thing. By the way, that's not my photograph. That's a photograph taken by Haneker, actually. That's the tree.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we should be commenting anyway, as it's our application.
Well, in the tree officer will be making a decision about that.
Absolutely. So, let's move on to 62 Blackthorn Road, which will be...
Oh, by the way, this is number 4. This is Reg Sutton's house. This is number 4.
Perhaps we should run a competition for who can put in the most planning applications on one side.
But this is number 4. Right, here we go. You can just see in red on the left-hand side that it's just up past the George on the right. Okay. There's the proposed extension. You'll notice another building on the right-hand side, which is off the Cotterstock Road, and that's the subject of another planning application which we've looked at to put a dwelling there. The site is big enough to take this extension. That's what we're going to do. Stick something on the back, basically. Nothing. Oh no, there is an interesting bit. Just a sec. I'll come to that. There we go. Rattling on. That's the proposal, more or less. But that application was withdrawn, so they resubmitted one. Now this is an interesting bit. Something for us to learn, or me to learn anyway. Properties of this size need 3 off-road parking spaces. Now this is a new one on me. Alright. Now fundamentally, right, this is Wayne Cattell, by the way, is the case officer. So he's either suggesting a smaller extension, and he's saying you'll probably read, Now, fundamentally, what they're proposing to do, what they're proposing to do is open up the front garden so that they can get 3 vehicles in there. That's it, but they're going to have to get highway authority, and at the moment there's nothing on the side that says. So my general feeling is we say no objection, subject to highways being happy with the proposal to open up the garden.
Seems logical. Any denial from that?
I wish I could have an actual plan for it, but there isn't one on the site.
So no objection, subject to highways being satisfied about proposed access.
They put their own objection
And sufficient provision for 3 car parking spaces.
They can't make it, the road any bigger. Don't see how they're going to do it, but there you go.
Well, they can mind that because it's just a hedge in front at the moment.
Take the hedge down.
Yeah,
Take the hedge.
they just take the hedge out.
Okay.
But next, 41 New Road, fairly straightforward this one. That's good. It's just next to the wreck, look. Just before you get to the wreck, it's off Gordon Road. You can see pretty well where it is, the blue thing. I just have put the what's the name in. This is probably more useful. You can see the single story, looks like a laboratory out the back. They propose to do something a little bit more dramatic. And you can see the area in blue is the existing house, and the area in brown is the proposed extension. And as you can see, there's provision for 3 cars.
And they have got great big gates there.
Yeah, they do. I mean, look, it's a biggish plot. It's difficult what you say about this. Here we go. There it is. They basically want to build, across the front. Sorry.
Just to say, you know the house, I know it quite well from going down that road a lot to work. The one on the left has been extended,
Yes.
so I think it'll match much better. With the new extension, I think it'll look
Well, it's
more
got to look
attractive.
better than the existing arrangement, doesn't it? They're
There's
talking.
quite a bit.
They're talking about matching brick and all the other stuff, the usual stuff. So I don't have a problem with materials. We're not going to put cream plastic up.
No, that's it.
So I think it'll be a bit of a signature house really, and it's on the corner. Really won't directly argue with it.
Any objections?
No
No
objection.
objection.
Just an observation though on that sort of windfall extensions that we keep coming across every single time, is it's actually pushing, and we were talking about affordable housing, it's actually pushing all the affordable housing away all the time. Because I was talking to someone in Sharman Quilliams and they were saying that there is no, they can't, the houses that come up below £250,000 in this town are sold before they even get advertised, and they're not even, they go straight to the rental market. They don't, there is no affordable housing. And partly the reason is people are extending their houses, so they go up above the £350,000–400,000 mark when they resell them. So it's just an observation. It's nothing we can do about it, but it's a social thing.
It is an interesting observation. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it directly, but there are 2 things that we could consider. One is, now is always pressing for councils to come forward with sort of debate matters, and of course one could argue that legislation in this area might be needed as a way of trying to address some of the housing issues, and of course the other option might be to go to our local MP and suggest that he looks into the possibility of legislation in this area, admitting perhaps with his hands slightly full as he's just been made a personal private secretary to Liam Fox.
We've been saying this for at least 20 years.
We have been making very similar observations
At least
over
20
the years.
years.
So,
And I met a couple in Waitrose recently who are actually living in Peterborough, and they keep coming into Arundel looking to buy a small house to retire into, and exactly what you've said, it's worse. They're being gazumped by cash buyers.
Interesting.
I think one of the point I was making more than anything else is to go back to your coalescence document, that we should make it as robust as possible about affordable housing as well. To just another add in to that, because there is no affordable housing in Arundel anymore. It just doesn't exist.
Right. Well, that actually concludes all the applications before us. So the only other thing on the agenda, happily gets a very early hour, is any other relevant matters for a report. So I'll start over there, Councillor Oakes.
Well, I don't know whether my wife would like to talk about the house that's burnt down.
Well, not really. It'll have to be presumably cleared and rebuilt again. or-
Well,
We'll
have you
get
seen-
through the covenant that's on it.
Have you seen it?
I must confess, I wasn't even aware of a house older than
If you
Downs.
go down and you just look down the Cobblestock Road and you just get into the school, look to your right, and we'll see.
Where the Sloanes lived. That house.
That's had a covenant on it for years and years
It
and
has,
years.
and the family can't agree, can
Yeah,
they?
so they burnt it down instead, and they all had to be demolished.
No, apparently the rumour is that it was, what we're going to say.
There's about 6 rumours.
Oh, well,
But which one of them?
the one I heard
Which one
was
of you
You have
told
to
me?
be careful about
We have to
talking
switch
about
this on.
rumours.
There was
in
one
the
that
public.
children from the school across the road had been
Smoking.
going into it. The police and fire people have said they think the fire had been going for several days. A small,
All right.
in a small way.
Ah,
But we might get a planning application.
For 60 houses.
Applications on that
It's
site.
another site,
Yeah.
it's quite a big
Yes.
site.
Well, not only have we had 2 planning applications, you may also recall we had a presentation from a group who were interested in turning that into accommodation, indeed I think to meet elderly need,
Yeah.
as I recall.
That was a long one ago.
But it was a long time ago and nothing ever came of it. Councillor Jessup,
Nothing.
Councillor Humphreys.
I think that's pertinent to this. So I just wondered if are we open to things that have come up since, or do we have to leave those for our next full council meeting?
Well, I suppose it depends. If it's a council type matter rather than this, it probably should be at full council. If it's
It was just that I was just
impinges
gonna,
on planning issues.
no, it's just that whether there were a response to that letter that we got sent from the resident.
Yes.
Is that okay, councillor?
You said it again, John.
Sorry?
I got a repeat email just now from that.
All right. Anyway, that's probably full council rather than planning.
Right.
Nothing from me.
No, nothing.
Just really as a matter for report, strangely, since the last meeting, I've been out to see one particular parishioner who was complaining about, amongst other things, a breach of what would have been an old planning consent. I mean, a planning consent would have gone back to the 70s about keeping frontages open plan because of a neighbour who had built a wall. And then below me, when I get home this evening, my wife reports to me that she had been buttonholed by somebody that were trying to come to me about
It's a
somebody
house
who
that's
has...
not a million miles from me.
no, it's not actually. The house I looked at, the one I actually visited,
Kings Road.
was in Needview, on the junction with Springfield.
Oh, right, I know.
And another one, and I'm glad if I can remember what Anne told me it was, but the concern was that again, with a planning consent for open plan at the frontages, no hedges, fences, what have you, somebody's planted a little row of Leandai, which are presumably going to be quite a big row of Leandai in due course. And again, issues about whether or not ENC will ever do anything to enforce such planning conditions. I bring it to your attention because I suspect that sooner or later all of you will get buttonholed about these sort of issues, if not those specific ones. It's 9:15.
That's not
It
bad.
seems like a very reasonable time. And Gavin, say thank you very much.
I can just add something that I learnt today to what you just brought up. Didn't want it recorded because I today had the enforcement